Nerina Weiss. She's a senior researcher at FAFO Research Foundation, which I guess you all know. She's a PhD in social anthropology from University of Oslo. Her research interests include radicalization, political violence, gender studies, as well as torture and traumas. Regionally, she has worked especially with the Mediterranean and Middle East, with extensive fieldwork experience also from Cyprus and Eastern Turkey. Which means that she is a, if so, what was that? Bare snakk, så blir det borte. Det er fint. She's a, we could say, a specialist on the Kurdish question and the Kurdish situation. Siden, in black, is a research fellow at Christian Michelsen's Institute in Bergen. She has a MA in psychology. Nesse focuses on rhetoric, perceptions, foreign policy, decision-making, identity, and the links between political ideology, power, and violence. She has directed policy-oriented projects in Turkey, Iran, and US relations with the Middle East and North Africa. And she recently concluded a 3-year project on Turkish domestic and foreign policy. Her publications include an article on Norway and Turkey, and and I think people know her from the last months for taking more and more showing her voice in the debate about Turkey. Then we have Nils Butenschøn here, professor of political science and former director of the Norwegian Center for Human Rights, University of Oslo. His research interests include nationality conflicts, democratization, and human rights, with a particular focus on Middle East that he has been working on and writing on for many, many years. His 2 latest publications in English are Power Sharing in Conflict-Ridden Societies, Challenges for Building Peace and Democratic Society Stability. And the second one, Arab Citizen and Arab State, the Arab Spring as a critical juncture in contemporary Arab politics. He is currently leading an international project on the conditions of citizenship in the Arab world. And then, last but not least, usually say, Eugene Skjoldgen. Eugene is a prominent Norwegian writer. And last year he published the novel Av en annen verden, From a Different World, I guess the English translation will be, about a literary competition in Istanbul. And if you haven't read it, you can read it because it's really very much about what's happening in Turkey today. Extremely relevant book. Eugene has worked on issues related to Turkey for the last 20 years. He has lived in Istanbul for 8, where he has a huge network. And Eugene has witnessed hundreds of proceedings in Turkey in these years. He has been PEN Writers in Prison Leader and International Secretary of PEN International, a member of the Board of Directors in London, and presently he's the Vice President of our association. And he's back from Istanbul just for a couple of days ago. I'm very happy that you're here. Very, very glad that you could take the stance and be here with us and comment on the situation in Turkey today. We have 4 people that can speak from different directions into this complicated situation. I will start with giving the word to Eugene, since he's just recently back from Turkey. And please, Eugene, give us some impressions from your stay there last week.
Thank you. Should I sit here? Or
you can sit there if you want to. I think that's easier than we don't. You stand for. Is it on? Yes.
Yeah, it's on. Hello, everybody. So very happy to see you here, and thanks for your coming. I think I've been asked to talk a little about what's going on just now in Turkey, but I never like to obey orders, so I will change a little here. We have heard now from Sanar what's going on, first of all, in the brain of Mr. Erdogan, because after listening, you can get the impression that Turkey is today Mr. Erdogan. He is the father of the nation. That is what he thinks himself. He is the new Ottoman leader. And what is good for Turkey is good for him. Oh, sorry. What is good for him is good for Turkey. I mean, sorry. But, as a matter of fact, he has a problem. He has a huge problem. And I think that is one of the reasons why he is so angry from morning to late night. Because he understands that his job is much harder than he likes to make us believe. It's namely like this. Turkey has been in a similar situation as today for decades. The leaders have come and gone, the names have changed, but the attitudes are the same. The only difference between the situation today and the situation during the former leaders, where also people were killed, where people disappeared, where people were put to prison, tortured, and so forth, had to leave the country. This has gone on since the 60s, actually.
No, 150 years ago.
Much more than that, actually. I'm sure much more than that. But the difference is that today, before it has been actually some rules. Even the militaries followed some rules. And they obeyed a kind of judicial system. Today, the judicial system in Turkey is a total mess. It's a jungle. Nobody knows actually what the laws are, where the borders of the laws are. And Mr. Erdogan, he breaks laws every hour in the day, and he don't bother. It means that all those very brave people in Turkey who are still fighting, even young people in Turkey, which is a difference between Turkey and many other countries, as a matter of fact, even many young people in Turkey are fighting. We saw it not the least at the Gezi Park, which is a different situation, a different story, but all the same. They do simply not know where the borders is. They are trying to hide their voices, and sometimes nothing happens. Other times they're put to jail. There have been open trials against them, and so forth. It means that this uncertainty is now the rule of the day in Turkey. Nobody knows what's actually counts. The law system has fallen apart, mostly totally, and the respect for law is diminished. People are afraid, but they do not respect. That's a big difference. Of course, you have a huge part of the society who are not interested in any of these things. They're interested in having their food for the day, an outcome, and all the other difficult daily problems they have to solve. But those who are aware of what's happening in Turkey, they are in this despair. They don't know what counts. Mr. Erdogan, I'm sorry to have to mention his name again, he actually has turned Turkey into a functioning dictatorship. I am not afraid of using the word dictatorship, because so many of the things he has said and he has done is a clear sign that this is what it's all about. And he has a lot of followers. And the problem is that he has put himself in a situation where it's no way back. He has painted himself into a corner. Either he succeeds or he falls. And he knows very well, if he falls, the prison he likes to put other people into will be his home for the rest of his life, most likely, if he survives. So, that is what we are facing today. We are facing a situation, we protest, and we try to paint him as the somehow crazy, somehow dangerous, somehow ridiculous person he actually is. But he has come to stay. He has no other choice. I think that this situation is perhaps what makes people more tired than anything else in Turkey. This tiredness I have met again and again. People, even a person like Sanar, who has some strange motor inside him, which seems never to be exhausted, even I can see in Sanar's eyes, this tiredness is coming. And that is a huge tragedy. The huge tragedy is that these 10,000s, 100,000s, million of Turks have come to a border where you can say, what will happen tomorrow? Will we go on? I hope, but I'm not sure. So this is dangerous. And the danger is also that because of Mr. Erdogan's way of expressing himself, he creates so much hatred inside the society, inside the country. The different groups hate each other more than before. Not only the Kurds and the Turks, even the Alevis, even the Armenians, even the others, many other small groups, they all look with suspicion on each other.
Arshen, you will have the chance to speak more later on, I think, also.
Sorry?
You will have the chance to speak a little bit more later on also. If you can round up now, the first, and then we will...
Sure. Sorry. What I wanted to end with by saying is that I visited the prison where Asli Erdogan is sitting just some days ago. It was a huge demonstration outside the prison. That demonstration goes on every Friday, every week. She has an email address, and she has an address to the prison. And I would ask all of you, as a sign of sympathy with the situation, use her as a symbol. Send messages to the officials in Turkey and to her. Make her understand that she's not alone. And that is what I would like to stop by saying, that is the most important thing we can do. Because very often when you are in Turkey, you ask yourself, what the hell can we do for you? The best we can do is to show solidarity, that we do not forget them, and that we stay behind them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Nerina, please, go on.
Yes, I will actually jump on the notion of change, that on the one hand things haven't changed, but then the Turkish people feel that there is this feeling the atmosphere has changed. And if I take the Kurdish position, then yes, there has also been change, but change has gone in a circle. So there has only been a very short time in the Turkish history where there was hope for the Kurds, where there was hope that this Kurdish problem would finally be peacefully solved. Not even 10 years. And within these 10 years, of course, people were tortured, people were jailed, people were oppressed. But still, there was this one feeling that it went the right direction. So, I just go back to the 80s and to the 90s. You know, the conflict with the PKK. And during that time, Kurd was equivalent with terrorist. So when you talked about the emergency law and the state of siege, Well, in the rest of Turkey, it might be 3 months, but in the Kurdish regions, it lasted for years. So whole mountain regions were depopulated. Internal refugees increased the population of the bigger towns during the 80s and 90s. Then comes the opening, Erdogan comes, and actually declares that we do have a Kurdish problem. And just saying this, acknowledging that there are Kurds in the country, was a huge success. Of course, he said it after Abdullah Öcalan was jailed, and officially the war was over. So in 2005, 2006, and the years thereafter, there were changes. It was legal to be a Kurd, it was legal to talk Kurdish, it was legal to even broadcast in Kurdish 1 hour a week. And the real Kurdish broadcasts were still forbidden in Turkey. But there was a change. And for the not political civilian Kurd, life was easier. The political activists had it even worse. Terror laws were changed into new terror laws that made it even easier to also prosecute demonstrators, youth, children, and the opposition. Then comes 2012, the secret negotiation starts with Öcalan in jail. And 2013, he sends a public message during Newroz, calls the PKK to withdraw. Peace talks. For the first time, there are real peace talks. At the same time, the HDP becomes big and actually managed to become something else than just a pro-Kurdish party. It becomes a party for the left. And it actually managed to get into parliament. There is real hope. People think that this can happen. With the HDP in the parliament, peace is possible. It lasts for 2-3 weeks. The Suruç bomb, 2 days afterwards, as Erdogan is blamed for letting IS in, enabling IS suicide bombers to bomb pro-Kurdish activists. 2 policemen are killed. And this gives Erdogan the chance to go into the Syrian war under the head of war against terrorism. And as you said, half a bomb on IS, dozens of bombs, 99% of the whole budget goes into Kandil and Eastern Turkey. There is a civil war going on in Eastern Turkey and has been going on since Kobane, since 2014, when Turkey denied people to fight and to help the pro-Kurdish activists in Syria to defend the city of Kobani. Since then, the PKK has actually mobilized as much as in the 90s. They have people joining the PKK as in the hot years of the war. After Turkey went into Syria, or the war started its new war against terrorism, the civil war is going on. There are cities, when you see, all the pictures of Aleppo, where there is no city, you have the same pictures from Eastern Turkey. Nusaybin doesn't exist anymore. Cisre doesn't exist anymore. Sur doesn't exist anymore. Sur was a district in Diyarbakir that actually hosted most of the religions in Turkey. It does not exist anymore. And now this new project, now they have rid the district from terrorists. For a short time, Kurd was not equivalent with terrorist. Again, Kurd is an equivalent of the terrorist. So while civilians have been killed in 60, 70, 24-hour sieges, where the military shot on the water tanks, they shot on the electricity, and people starved. So while the official discourse is Sur has been rid of the terrorists, what actually happened is that Sur has been rid of its civilian population. Now Sur is going to be built up again, but not as this multicultural kind of the rest of the Ottoman Empire as a multicultural entity. It is becoming Ottomanized. The Ottoman, it's going to be rebuilt in an Ottoman style, where all the different ethnic and religious minorities that are part of the Turkish Republic are deleted. So, state of emergency, yes, we do have it in the East. Censorship, yes, we do have it in the East, and we even do have it in Europe, as many of the pro-Kurdish activists know. Facebook is censoring pro-Kurdish activists even here. There's very little protest. And the problem being that for some time, the youth, the pro-Kurdish youth actually thought that there was a future for them. But what is happening now, there's a new mobilization to the militant Kurdish groups. There is a harsh polarization between the Kurds and the Turks. And another generation is doomed to live with violence and conflict, and peace is again 2 generations away.
Thank you, Nerina. Siri, you are next.
Is it on? Okay. I think I would like to go back to Erdogan again and join in the choir. But because in about 2013, I did field work in Turkey amongst the so-called elites, and by that I mean people within the academia, within. Okay. I'm not used to microphones like this. Okay. No, I can hold it myself. But thank you. So I interviewed people from the media, academics. I did interviews with the some from the military and also politicians in both AK party and the oppositional parties, and some other groups. One thing that I asked about was Erdogan's personality and leadership style, and also I also interviewed both his opponents and his supporters. And what I found, or what they told me when I asked about this, they told me, like Evgene have told us today, and also Sanar, that he is very much control freak, that he loves applause. He rules based on fear. That power had corrupted him, and all these characteristics are not unknown to us now, but in 2013 they were not so commonly used about Erdogan, and certainly not highly voiced by his supporters. So that his leadership style and that his personality has been problematic all along is kind of known. However, what we have seen in the last year or two is that he has, for his whole period, he has had a lot of supporters, and so we should not forget this. That over 50% of the population, they think that Erdogan is the best person to rule the country, so to speak. And this is often forgotten when we speak about Turkey and speak about Erdogan. And to them, he is this strong man. He is the person who can save Turkey from being divided. And that Turkey should be divided is a fear that lays within the culture in Turkey. Many people fear that if this and that happens, Turkey could be divided. And also this fear we saw in the day of the coup. When I spoke to the people I know in Turkey, they said that, oh my God, today the civil war is starting. And And so many people, they kind of think that they have to have this strong man. And of course, we should think that after the Atatürk terror attack, for instance, that this image of Erdogan as the strong man, as the savior of Turkey, and the person who can save Turkey from terrorists and from the spillover from the neighboring countries and conflicts, because that was in fact what he was campaigning on in between the two elections in June and November. He was saying that I am the only one who could keep Turkey together and the only one who could save Turkey. And so the coup kind of added to this image of Erdogan as the strong leader and as the father of the nation. And what I've noticed is that first there was a miracle. Erdogan miraculously escaped the coup plotters within minutes almost. And so he escaped, and because of a miracle, so to speak. And then there was a hero, Erdogan. He was the hero. He emerged as a hero. He risked his life going to Istanbul and had the counter-coup fight, in spite of the fact that there were F-16 flights in the air who could have taken him down, and or he didn't know. So these two things, like miracle and hero, kind of added to the image of Erdogan as the strong man. But I think also as researchers and as journalists, we should not kind of blame everything that goes on in Turkey on Erdogan. I think that it's important that we remember that he's only one person, although the most powerful man at the moment, and that we kind of look at other factors too that is contributing to the situation and to the polarization within the country. And not forgetting what's going on around Turkey is also very important, and the spillover effect from Syria especially, but also from Iraq. And we should also not forget there's another conflict, even though it's low-intensity conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, which also factors into the Turkish society. And if that should be also a high-intensity conflict, then that would be even worse. But we should also look at the opposition in Turkey, because no matter how we turn it, and as Sanar, as you explained to us, they did not succeed in forming a coalition government after the June elections. The HDP and the MGP, they can't cooperate in any fashion, and so we also have to take a look at these other factors, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Yes.
You have finished there?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Siri. I think we will perhaps hear some of the other stories here also now. Please, Nils, your next one.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be brief and not repeat what the very good previous speakers have mentioned. But there are two, I think, try to limit this to a couple of points. One point is how do we explain that Erdogan, in his present development, how is it possible? Why could he and why can he actually develop a policy of such an authoritarian nature, which I think directs our attention to two dimensions. One is, what is the, so to say, the state idea of Turkey? There is, I think, a constant struggle over the purpose of the state, which has, I think, as Eugene also indicated, it's been a struggle over decades. I mean, actually, ever since the fall of the Ottoman Empire, and even, of course, before the fall of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire as a so-called sick man of Europe, which indicated some fundamental problems in the development of the Ottoman state as opposed to the rising Western powers, and the attempt that the Ottoman rulers did in order to import Western technology and also reforms from the 1870s on, the so-called Tanzimat, particularly German technology, also military technology, building up a strong army as the foundation of the state. Well, I'm not going into all the history, but then we had the fall of the Ottoman Empire, and not only of the empire and not only the territories that were lost, but also the very model of the state, the abolition of the caliphate, of the sultanate, and Atatürk's attempt to totally reorient the new state of Turkey in a very, I would say, authoritarian way. A cultural revolution of the most fundamental kind we probably ever have seen. So this, I think we are witnessing, I think, effects of these enormous struggles in Turkey from that time and onwards. And I was not aware of and I think the historians will have to tell us in time coming, or social scientists, what was really going on with Erdogan and Gülen, and what did they try to establish, what kind of society, what kind of second society, parallel society were they trying to build up, and how should we understand the current conflict between them now, and that Erdogan really needed to split with Gülen and then be angry from morning to night in order to try to mobilize the people on his side. So this is very dramatic. Of course, the vulnerability of Erdogan is exactly as has been said also. I mean, either he wins or he loses. And it's a very risky strategy, of course. So that is one dimension here. What is the idea of Turkey? Erdogan, I think, is rebuilding again on Turkishness, on the idea that Turkey is for the Turks, and mobilizing against the Kurds in order to get the majority in parliament, etc., etc. Reorienting this state away from what was believed to be a more liberal European tradition, a pro-business and a liberal tradition, a Western tradition, a secular foundation, and reorienting the state now more in, so to say, a Middle Eastern direction. So his style of leadership now reminds me very much of what we have seen some Arab dictators around 1910, 11, 12 still. There were some hopes that Turkey could be a kind of a model for the Arab world after the Arab Spring. You know, there's moderate Islamism combined with democracy. Well, we started to understand in 2012, I think, or maybe earlier, that that would probably not be the case. And now it seems that the Arab dictatorships has been the model of Erdogan, the other way around. So, and as Eugene mentioned, the arbitrariness of rule, of policies, is exactly a definition of authoritarian and states of dictatorship. So that is one dimension. Where is Turkey going as a state? What is the identity and the fear, the policy of fear, the policy of you never know who is next one in prison. That was exactly the situation before the Arab Spring in Egypt, for instance. Now the other dimension is the responsibility of the West, the geopolitical dimension, which now brings the European leaders one after the other to Ankara to express their solidarity with Erdogan. First the Council of Europe with Jagland, then the United States, EU and NATO with Stoltenberg. Norway, or Norwegians, I would say, is not playing a very heroic role here in really setting up some red lines for Erdogan. On the contrary, the geopolitical Erdogan has been able to position Turkey in such a geopolitical position in relation to the interests of great powers, and particularly, of course, what is going on in the neighborhood in Syria, Iraq, and the rest of the Middle East. So that is more important to Western leaders than protecting basic Western values, which is exactly the same policy that Western leaders have towards Egypt, the dictatorship in Egypt, which is worse than ever, the ethnocracy in Israel, which is worse than ever. So geopolitics comes in as a fundamental thing here that I think we as a civil society should be concerned with. How do we challenge our leaders to protect basic human rights? Okay.
Thank you. Niels, I would like to follow up just with asking you one question about the situation in the Middle East, which you have been working on for the last 30, 40 years, at least. Erdogan has recently opened up with a new relationship with Russia, a huge, heavy treatment with Iran, and now intervening in Syria in a different way. What do you see out of this when it comes to his positioning in the Middle East region? And what does he want with moving into Syria like that?
Well, in many ways, he reminds me of Hafez al-Assad, the father of Bashar al-Assad, to be and to present himself as a key player, the key to stability in the region. Because the rest of the region is chaotic, so he can position himself as a guarantee for stability. And he's also re-established his contacts with Israel, so he is trying now to position himself in this way. And then you have the agreement with the EU on immigration, refugees, etc. So he has lots of cards to play with in relation to the different players, and as you say, Iran. I think that is at least seen from the north here. It's the way he's positioning himself as playing his cards in almost the Machiavellian sense.
To be the hero of the whole Middle East and the Arabic culture, or to be their new leaders, or?
No, I don't think that's not his primary objective. I think he's not so concerned with the Arab Middle East. Well, he was concerned with the Palestinians, but basically he is concerned with the great players, I think, and positioning himself in that context.
I will open up very soon. I have one more question for Eugen first, and then I will invite you to comment and ask questions for the panel and for Sanar, of course. Eugen, you told me that you went to one of the court cases this last week, and this is a sort of anecdote of what is going on. And then they open up the case with presenting a different case. Can you just tell it about that?
Yeah, that's a rather typical situation. The two accused, no, it was more than two accused, but let's concentrate on the two main figures here. It was Ahmed Altan, the very well-known writer and journalist, and his co-journalist, Yasemin. They were brought there to answer for an indictment which never was shown to them. Instead, they were faced with a total other indictment. Nobody had seen it, not the two accused, not the defense lawyer. And on top of it, it became clear that this indictment was a copy of an indictment made to confront Can Dündar, the other journalist now situated in Berlin. They had not even bothered to change the name from Can Dündar to Ahmed Altan. And you see, this is exactly what I mean with disrespect of law. They don't care. And when Ahmed Altan asked the judge, what I am doing here, are you sure that you have got the right person? I am not Can Dündar. The judge didn't even bother to answer him. That's all. I mean, they just went on as if nothing had happened. And they asked him questions which had nothing to do with... He said, how can I answer your questions? I don't understand them. They have nothing to do with me. And they just went on. That's all. That is how Turkish justice is practiced these days.
I think that is why it is so important also to have witnesses there at the court cases to see the arbitrariness and the insanity of these cases going on. Thank you, Eugen.